Hi, I'm Chad with Red Hawk Trading out of Molat, Idaho. Today we're going to show you how to set up an 18-foot teepee. To start off, we'll talk a little bit about what you get when you order a teepee from us. This large bag over here is the teepee cover. This one is a liner. We'll show you how all that works. This is your door and door bag. And this bag here has several pockets in it to keep all your miscellaneous stuff in for your stakes and pins and whatnot. The only thing we do not include in the package are these two dowels. And it's because of shipping reasons. Our boxes are not this long, and so you'll have to pick up two dowels at the hardware store. By 48 inches, and you'll cut them off and then round the ends of them. These are stiffener sticks for the door, and we'll show you how that all goes in a little later. That's the only thing that we do not send out with our teepee packages. We started business in 1978, and we've literally built thousands of teepees. We've sent them all over the country and out of the country. We also hold the record for the world's largest teepee ever built. It was built for the 2002 Salt Lake Olympics. The same material that we built on that, used on that big teepee, we use on all of our tents. It had to meet 100-mile-an-hour wind, and so we had to have our canvas stress tested to see if it meet that requirement. And it came back, and we were able to use the same canvas on that 55-foot teepee that we built for the Olympics. To start off, you want to lay out your poles. You'll want to pick out, now on an 18-foot teepee, this is 18-foot teepee that we're setting up today. You need to pick out your four largest poles. I've got those set aside right here. And then two of the smallest poles, and those will be for the smoke flap. You can, in an 18-footer, it requires 17 poles, but if you ever break one, you can drop one out of the back of the teepee and be fine. And so we'll show you that too. So to start off, what we're going to do, you also get a detailed instructions with the setup kit. Hopefully this video will help you a lot. First thing we're going to do is lay out the canvas cover and measure for the tripod poles and the lifting poles. Okay, this is the teepee cover. When it's all laid out, you can see that it's a half a circle. I just wanted to point out some of the key features that we do inside our teepees in the manufacturing of them that really set us apart from a lot of the other companies. We'll start off here with the lacing pin strip. This strip is triple thick canvas, and we reinforce it and make it very strong. It's got a lot of strength to it. There's a double wear strip that we put around the door too, so you're never wearing out your door as you go in and out. At the top of the lacy pin right here is a little bit of a stress point. We put this double thick reinforced patching right here. And then from here we put 3/4 inch heavy webbing around the entire smoke flap area. Up at this point right here is your highest stress point on a teepee cover right here. Because we run this heavy webbing down around this edge, and then we put this lifting pole patch over it, it's very, very strong. This lifting pole patch is three thicknesses of canvas with the double ties for securing it to the lifting pole. This is our smoke flap pocket that the smoke flap poles go into. It's very heavily sewn. It's double thick canvas, very heavy. The base of the hem of the teepee is cut. When we cut it out, it's folded over, and then we put the same 3/4 inch webbing around the entire base of the teepee as an extra strength. On measuring a teepee, a lot of people say, well, how do you know how big the teepee is? A real teepee, regular authentic teepee, should have a tilt back to it. So if you look straight down on a teepee, it should be egg-shaped with the door being out at the pointed part of it. To get that, we hold the radius point out into this area here. And so up the front of the teepee is going to be, this is an 18 footer, so we arc it at 18 feet from the radius point. So from up and down the back to the tie is only going to be about 17, a little under 17 feet. So when we have that egg shape from front to back of the teepee after it's set up, we'll be pretty close to 18 feet from front of the poles to the very back of the poles. But from side to side, we're probably only 16 and a half to 17 feet. So again, you should have that egg-shaped circular pattern when you set up. Another thing I would like to point out is our seams on the teepee cover. It's the same on all of our tents. We use a flat felt locking seam. And so essentially it's 4 thicknesses thick. So if the canvas edge was on my fingers here, you curl them towards the palm of your hand, and this one over here, and they hook together like this. So they're 4 thicknesses and they interlock. It is a very, very strong seam. And we do it so that after the teepee is up, the rain runs off of the seam and not into the seam. Very important to look at the seams on your tents and teepees. Another thing that we really take a lot of care and pride in is there's no raw edges on any of our teepees or tents. We finish off everything. I do not like fraying. So everything is finished and reinforced where it needs to be. Okay, now we've picked out our 4 largest diameter poles, and you'll need 3 of those for your tripod and 1 for your lifting pole. And we're going to measure that right now. And the easiest way to do that, you'll want a marker, because when you first get brand new poles, they're a little bit slippery. And so what I like to do is we like to mark them. So my wife is, if you'll notice right here, she is about 1/3 of the way around the teepee. Doesn't have to be exact, but that's where the tripods are going to end up, is 1 at the door over here, and 2, your north and south pole we're going to call them, down at that end. About 1/3 of the way around. She's going to pull the canvas tight and overhang the poles about 8 inches. Okay, are you there? What I want to do now is I'm going to mark where these ties are. Put a mark. Okay, now over here at the door pull, she's going to hold it just a couple inches past the door, at the base of the door. Pull your canvas. Okay, only about 3 inches past. Okay, now what I'm going to do is cross the door pull on top of those 2, the north and south pole, and I'm going to mark it. And that's where they're going to be tied to get lashed together. While we have the canvas here, we're going to lay out the lifting pole also. Okay, the lifting pole goes directly down the center of the back of the teepee. She's going to overhang that about 8 inches. Pull the canvas snug. Okay, now I want to mark this where both those ties go right here. I'm also going to put an L here just so I can remember which one is which. Okay, now we'll just set this aside. We don't need this pole until for a little while. Okay, so you want to pull out your smoke flap ropes first. They'll be labeled. You'll have 2 of them. They're the same length. You might as well just, it's easier to hook these on right now to your smoke flaps. You run the rope through, and I like to tie just a slip knot. These will stay on permanent. You never have to remove these. One on each smoke flap. Alright, now we've decided on the location we're going to set the teepee. So we've moved the tripod over about where we need to be. Teepees are typically facing east, the door opening to the east. And with that in mind, the door pull will be just to the right hand side of the door. Then we have the north and south pole right here. We'll go ahead and lash this together and show you how that's done, and then stand the tripod up and spread it out. So we have our marks here from when we marked when it was laying on the canvas. Now the strongest way to do this is a clove hitch. So I'm going to run this over that pole. This crosses over the rope. I like to have a little more of a tail here. And then this goes underneath the crossover. So it looks like that. That's a clove hitch. All right, now we're going to use that several times throughout the teepee. I want a little more tail here on this one. So you can see how it crosses over. And we're going to cinch that down. Now I'm going to bring this rope around and tie it off over here. And just tie it off. Okay, now my wife is going to go down and put her feet against the base of the double, or the north and south pole. And we'll stand this up in place. I'm just going to walk up under it. Count straight up and down. Now this pole here is the north pole. So I'm just going to grab it and pull it out. Now as you do this, you'll feel it tighten up at the top. You can actually hear it. Okay? That creaky sound. It's very, very strong when it's done that way. It won't slip. Now what I want to do is kind of estimate where my door is going to be. We want the door to be right in this area here. Pull that way a little bit. Take that over in here. Now we have our tripod. Okay, this is part of our setup instructions. What we're looking for is the distance between the north and south pole and the distance between the door pole. So this is an 18-foot teepee we're setting up. So we go down here to 18 foot. This is good ballpark figures to start with. So the distance between A and B, which is your distance between the door and south pole and door and the north pole, is 17 feet. The distance between the north and south pole is 14.5 feet. So we'll go ahead and measure that. All right. Now we have the tripod laid out to approximate where it needs to be. It's the same distance between this pole and that pole, a little narrower in the back. At this point, we're going to start laying in some poles. So our first pole is on the opposite side of the door. So this will be door pole, or number one pole. Then we're going to go a total of 4 poles here. And then at that point, my wife will run the rope around once. And then we'll do the other side and do the back. Okay, I'm essentially standing in the teepee door right here. So this is the door pole. Now if you'll notice up at the top, the door pole needs to be on the south side of the main crotch up there. Okay, that's the way it needs to be. So when you lay out your pole or your tripod, if you lay it down on the ground north and stand it up, that's how it ends up. All right, so the easiest way to stand up the poles is, if you have help, is have your partner stand on the end of the pole and you just lift it up so it doesn't kick out on you. The first one's going to fit right in that main crotch up there. Here's the door. I want to kind of estimate my circular pattern here to meet up with the north pole. Now if you're trying to do this totally by yourself, it can be done very easily. What you want to do is, when you get ready to raise the tripod, have some way of fastening where my wife was standing earlier. You can either rope that and stake it down, or have a rock there to push against. I'll just show you how to do it. These one man is very easy here. I just push this against the pole and raise it up. Then once I've got it straight up, I can carry it anywhere I want. And you will go right into that crotch. It's important they lay on top of each other. What I'm trying to do here is kind of spread them out somewhat equal. Now, again, all of them have to be in that front crotch, laying on top of each other. My wife right now will run the rope clockwise around. You'll notice that she'll whip that up there to get it up at the apex. I'll kind of help hold these poles in. Now, if this is a 20-foot teepee, it would require 5 poles here. And they have a tendency to roll out. We like to run that rope one time. Okay, and she's going to hold that. Now, I don't have my poles spaced real evenly here, but we can adjust all that reasonably. Now I'll go on this side and lay in 4 poles. All right, we're in the back of the teepee now. That is the south pole. This is the north pole. If you remember right, the distance here is less than the distance between the door pole and these 2 poles. So if you need to, you can drop out a pole here, where I've decided just to put 2 poles and my lifting pole back here. So we start, the next pole will go right next to the north pole. Try to keep it symmetrical. It just lays in the back crotch now. Now, I skipped a spot. Right here is the very back of the teepee. That's where the lifting pole is going to go. And so now, at this point, my wife is going to run that rope around 3 to 4 times. Okay, now some guys will actually cut the door pole off a little bit and just whip this rope up over. We don't like to cut them if we don't have to. So what we do is we'll take the smoke flap pole because it's the lightest, and I'll just kind of untwist the rope right here. Just hook it over the smoke flap pole. What I want to do is I want to lift that rope over the door pole. Once I get it over, I just let it back down. The reason I like to do that is because when you're pulling down on this rope, it wants to untwist off the teepee. But when you go over a pole up there, now it won't untwist. It's got an anchor point. This main rope, you can pull down really hard on it. This teepee is going to be up for quite a while, so we want to make sure everything's secure. At this point, we're going to put the lifting pole on the canvas and get it ready to lift in place. Okay, we have the canvas rolled up here. We're going to unroll it at this point. Now that we have our location where we want to set it. We want to lay this lifting pole right down the middle of that canvas. And then there we marked it earlier where it needs to be tied. Now there are double ties on this lifting pole patch. I'm going to tie it to that mark. Now again, because these are brand new poles, they could be a little bit slippery, so you want to make sure as you lift this in place, it doesn't slide. Tie both of them snug. Okay, now at this point, I want to take one of my smoke flap rope to help keep it all bundled up. I'm going to take this and just kind of roll it around this canvas here. Help. point, it's nice to have a little step ladder. These are the lacing pins. I like to start at the top. And you'll notice the left-hand side of the lacing pin strip, the holes are wider. They go over the top of the narrow hole. Just work your way down. Keep in mind, the left-handed side has to go over the top of the right hand. Okay, now we can see the cover's up off quite a ways. We're going to go adjust the poles now, and we'll pull some of them in to lower that cover even a little bit more. All right, now we've gone in and we've spaced out the poles, kind of got them into position, pushed out a little bit on some of the ones that were in too far. You want your teepee cover to be up off the ground to allow for ventilation, and we'll show you how to close it all off in a minute. The next step we're going to do is show you how to put the marbles and the tie downs in. Now, the marbles, of course, are not authentic. The Native Americans just used rocks, and then when the mountain men came along, they used the lead balls out of muzzlers. We used marbles just for cost effectiveness. What you want to do is I like to put a tie down in between every pole, except for where the door is. You don't want to be tripping over a stake. The easiest way to do this is we'll take and lift this canvas up a little bit so it's relaxed. I'm in between the two poles, about 3 to 4 inches up. We're going to grab that marble and just pucker the canvas. What I like to do is I'll find the center of my tie down, and I'm going to tie a clove hitch. Now the easiest way to do that, I'll go really slow here, is you twist it away from you like this, and then twist it again away from you, but put that loop in front of that loop. That is a clove hitch. So one more time, twist it away, but put it in front. Then I put that over that marble and we cinch it down really tight. Now, and after that I'll just tie a half a knot. Now that does pucker the canvas, but after a period of time that will shrink the canvas and set that marble in place, and it'll look a lot better. There is other option. There's another option that we offer on teepee covers, and that is a reinforced loop here for stake downs. And we have a lot of customers that prefer that over the traditional setup. This is the traditional. So we will go ahead and put all our tie downs on, and then we'll come back and stake it down. All right, now we have all our tie downs in place. Take our perimeter stakes. Now we don't put the stake straight down like this. It has to be at an angle like this so that it's got tension against the cover. So I estimate it in between the poles here, about the same distance. I'm going to get this stake down. Okay, and we're going to pull down on the cover just a little bit. I go around the stake, pull it tight, wrap it a couple times, and tie it off. I like to do one side of the door, then I'll go to the other side of the door, then I'll work my way around. That way I can get the door to hang nice and straight. All right, now we have all the perimeter stakes in. It's very important now to do the center stakes. We supply these two center metal stakes, and what we do is we cross them on an angle, okay, like this. I put the next one over here. Because your teepee the tension is straight up on the center rope. For the teepee to blow over, this rope has to come undone from earth. So that's why we do these on an angle. I'll put a loop up here so I can cinch this down tight. We want this rope to be very tight. So I'll run it around there once, come up through my loop. And I'm going to cinch this down. And tie a 1/2 inch right there. Doesn't matter how many perimeter stakes you have in this teepee. If it's going to blow over, this has to come undone. So this is very, very important to keeping them standing up in place in a wind. Now you noticed in here we did put down a plastic floor. Floors are optional with our company. We do offer them. And so what, we put down a vapor barrier. This is a plastic floor, and then we put a canvas floor over the top of that. Right, now what I'm going to do next, we're going to put the liner up. I look for my bottom liner rope. This part of the process really sets us apart from all the other companies that I know of. I did not like the liners being outside the drip edge of the cover. All the other companies, they follow the angle of the pole clear to the ground, and that exposes the liner to the drip edge of the cover, so every time it rains it gets wet. So what we do is we run this bottom liner rope about 1 foot off the ground. We just tie it on this pole here, cinch it up approximately 1 foot. You don't need to measure it. Then you just take the whole bundle, and we're going to go counterclockwise around the pole so that this rope is on the inside of this pole, holding it about 1 foot off the ground. Get it tight. Go to the next pole. We're going to go all the way around and stop on the door opposite of the door pole so that it does not cross the door. Alright, now we've got the bottom liner rope all tight, about 1 foot off the ground. We start on the door pole, and everything's done as the sun travels, so clockwise around the base. So that's where we started the rope. We start the liner there too. So we'll tie this liner to this rope. You'll notice that there's a extra canvas below the liners. That drops straight down, then 1 foot of it sits on the ground for a sod flat. So I'll get this one tied. And then my wife will go ahead and start tying ties, keeping it tight between each tie. This takes a few minutes. You're going to just work all the way around. Stop at the door. Alright, now the bottom of the liner is all tied to the rope. We did not cross the door out in front here. At this point we're going to lift the liner up. I've got the top liner rope. It's a little shorter. My wife's going to hold it up here so I can see about how high to tie it. Now I like to tie it a couple inches higher than the liner. I'm going to just tie a slip knot there. Now because the teepee raises in the back, because it actually tilts back a little bit, it gets higher in the back. And so every once in a while she'll just hold this up to let me know about how high I'm going. Okay, if I drop it down. Again, I'm going to go around the pole this direction so that the liner, or the rope, is on the inside of the pole, just like on the bottom liner. I'm going to eye it up, kind of go across there, snug it up. Work my way all the way around, and then she'll hold the liner up a couple places just so I can see how I'm doing. You'll notice how it gradually gains elevation here. Okay, now we're over here to the door pole where we started the top liner rope. I just want to tie this off. Now our liners are a one-piece liner. What do I mean by that? They're made of a lot of different panels, but they're all sewed together, so it's one continuous piece. We believe that to be the better of all systems. I'm just going to tuck this rope back here to get rid of the tails. Now we're going to hold the liner up. We'll start tying it here. We'll just go along and do every other one at first, and then come back and catch the ones in between. Okay, you'll also notice that I am actually pulling the rope down to meet the liner. That way I have upward tension. It helps keep the liner tight and stretched out. Liners are pretty important for keeping it cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. It also helps offer privacy when you have a fire in at night. You don't see the shadows on the outside of your cover, and it helps with the ventilation quite a bit. We'll just go ahead and get this all tied up. Okay, now this extra liner piece is to cover it at night. During the day, what we like to do is just tuck it back behind this poles, get it out of the way. Then if you're going to be in and out of the teepee a lot, you can also undo these bottom two pins so that you're not tripping over or have to step over that. You notice on this liner that some of it sits on the ground. So if you had a canvas floor, you set that on top of this, and that seals it up nice and tight. Or your old carpeting or deer, elk hides, whatever you're going to use for your flooring. We're getting ready to put the smoke flaps in, the smoke flap pulls in the smoke flaps. I do not like a very sharp pencil pointed end, so we're going to just cut this off a little bit. If you have a file, it doesn't hurt to round this edge a little bit. It's a little lighter, a little easier on your canvas. Then we'll hold the pole up and see about how much we've got to cut off. Now it's easy to cut too much, so I'll just set it back here about where I want it to go and estimate it where it's got to go on the smoke flaps. Alright, now we've got these cut to length. If it's windy at all, it's a little difficult to get this, but you need to get it into the pocket up at the top. Work your way up there like that. And what I like to see is the pole will be about 1.5 to 2 feet away from the base of the teepee. And that way you can adjust these, move them back and forth wherever they need to go. I'll go ahead and get this other pole in.
Going. That first drop done finally.
Okay, now we have the smoke flap poles in place. We'll go ahead and, this is called the medicine pole. We do not send this with the poles. Any kind of pole will work. What you want to do is get this cut or tied on here about the height you want it, so that you're not hitting your head or on the rope or anything. Okay, come hold this. Now we'll stake this down. This other one's what's going to tighten everything up. Okay, the whole purpose of the smoke flaps is to help get the smoke out of the teepee. And so you adjust those with the wind, and then as the wind passes over the top of the smoke flaps, it helps create a vacuum and sucks the smoke out of the teepee. So a lot of times you tie ribbons at the top of your poles, or a horsehair lock, whatever it is you want to tie up there to give you, so you'll have indication which way the wind's blowing. This is the door flap. It's a double thick canvas door flap. We leave a little slit in the seam here so that you can take the stiffener sticks that we talked about earlier. You send them in here, and if you'll notice, you'll just send it up the side of the door, and right here, you'll notice it's not sewed all the way. So you want to fish that, work that dowel up through that channel right there. These will stay in permanently. So once they're in, you don't ever have to worry about taking them out. Same with the tie downs on your perimeter stakes. You will leave those on. Once they're on, you just leave them on there. Okay, there's the top one. It also helps around the ends of your dowels. It's a little, makes it so it's not as heavy on your, hard on your canvas. The other one just sits in the bottom of the door. The door hangs off the second lacing pin above the door with the ties on the inside. It has ties at the bottom of the teepee to tie down and also on the inside of the door to tie it at night. To get rid of it during the day, you can just roll it up. And come to these two loops here, and they just hook over your lacing pin. And that makes it so it holds your door up out of the way while you're in and out of it during the day. It does come with its own storage bag, and I would like to talk to you a little bit about the canvas that we use. We have offer two kinds of canvas. We offer a 12-ounce number duck, which is 100% cotton. There's no chemical. It's all natural canvas. It is susceptible to mildew, so if you're in a high humidity area, you want to make sure that you probably want to really consider the treated canvas. Our treated canvas is treated with a product called Sun Forger. It's mildew resistant, flame retardant, and also water repellent. We special order our Sun Forger in to meet our specifications. It's a very tight woven, heavy thread count, and it also is very strong. It's specially woven for that strength. It's called ring spun on ring spun, the weave that we use. It's stronger than the normal Sun Forger that most other companies offer. Okay, we're going to show you how to fold these up. It's really helpful if you have a second person. It's my wife, Kayleen, at the top. I like to do it inside up. And I just come to the middle here. What I'm going to do is take a handful here, about 3 feet. She did just take a small handful. We're going to pull it away from each other where it pieces the canvas right there. Lay it over. Let me do it again. We just continue this until we call it an accordion fold. It makes it so it unwraps around your pool very easily. Okay, there's half. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call at 1-800-403-HAWK, which is 4295. We're also on the website at redhawktrading.com. And you can look at all our other products, or if you have any questions or comments, please give us a call. Thanks.